Stop scrolling for a second. I want you to picture the dream. You are tired of the noise. You are tired of the headlines. You are tired of looking over your shoulder every time you see a police car in the rearview mirror. So you do what everyone is talking about on TikTok. You plan your exit. You search for the safest, richest, most civilized countries on earth. You pack your bags, sell your furniture, and promise your family you are going to a better place. A place where you will be judged by your character, not your skin tone. It sounds perfect. It sounds like paradise. But here is the brutal truth the travel brochures won't tell you. Sometimes you are not running toward freedom. You are running straight into a trap. I have a friend named Marcus who moved to Europe in 2023 thinking he had escaped the anxiety of America. 6 months later, he texted me one line that chilled me to the bone. He wrote, "In America, they might shoot you. But here they just make you wish you had never been born." That is the reality check we are doing today. We are counting down the top 5 countries that market themselves as progressive utopias, but are actually psychological minefields for Black travelers. These are the places that smile to your face while they shred your resume. We are talking about the paradise trap, because in 2026, racism isn't always a slur shouted from a truck. Sometimes it is a rental application that always gets lost. Sometimes it is a doctor ignoring your pain until it is too late. If you are thinking about moving, studying, or even just traveling while Black, you need to hear this. This isn't fear-mongering. This is intelligence. Let's start the countdown. Number 5, Switzerland. Look at the pictures. It is breathtaking. Snow-capped mountains, crystal clear lakes, trains that run on time, to the second. It looks like the set of a movie where nothing bad ever happens. And if you check the stats, it is incredibly safe. Crime is low, salaries are high, the chocolate is amazing. But if you are Black in Switzerland, you are about to discover a different kind of cold. And I am not talking about the snow. Switzerland operates on a culture of extreme conformity. Everyone follows the rules. Everyone fits in. And if you stand out, you are a problem. And nothing stands out in a sea of white snow and white faces quite like you do. In Switzerland, racism has a sound, and that sound is silence. Imagine walking onto a train in Zurich during rush hour. The train is packed. People are standing shoulder to shoulder, but the seat next to you is empty. People walk past it. They look at it. They look at you, and they choose to stand. They would rather be uncomfortable on their feet than sit next to a Black person. It happens once, you think it's a coincidence. It happens 10 times, you start to wonder if you smell bad. It happens every day for 3 months, and it starts to break you psychologically. This is the Swiss cold shoulder, but it gets worse. Let's talk about the stare. Expats call it the Swiss stare or the Germanic stare. It isn't a glance. It isn't curiosity. It is surveillance. They will lock eyes with you and follow your every move. They don't smile. They don't nod. They just watch. Like you are a specimen in a jar. Like you are a stain on their perfect white shirt. I spoke to a woman who lived in Geneva for 2 years. She said, "You are not physically attacked, but you are visually interrogated every time you leave your house." Imagine the mental toll of that. Feeling like an intruder in your own neighborhood. But maybe you think, I can handle staring. I just want to be a citizen. Well, good luck with that. Switzerland has one of the most insane citizenship processes in the developed world. In many municipalities, your citizenship application isn't just decided by the government. It is decided by your neighbors. Yes, you heard me right. Your neighbors get to vote on whether you deserve to be Swiss. There are documented cases, real legal cases, of people being rejected because their neighbors thought they were annoying, or because they didn't greet people correctly on the street, or because they cooked food that smelled too strong. Now put a Black family in that equation. Do you think the neighbors who won't even sit next to you on the train are going to vote for you to become a citizen? In 2024, the UN Working Group of Experts on People of African Descent visited Switzerland. Their report was scathing. They flagged systemic racial profiling as a major issue. They noted that Swiss police can stop and search you just because you look foreign. And here is the kicker. Switzerland doesn't have strong anti-discrimination laws like the US or UK. If a landlord refuses to rent to you because you are Black, good luck fighting that in court. If a club bouncer says members only every time you show up, good luck proving it's racism. The Swiss government often hides behind neutrality. They say, we are not racist, we are just traditional. But for a Black traveler, that tradition feels a lot like exclusion. Switzerland is beautiful to look at. But for many of us, it is a museum where we are allowed to visit, but never allowed to touch, and certainly never allowed to stay. Number 4, Germany. Number 4 is Germany, the economic engine of Europe. Berlin is famous for being cool, edgy, and multicultural. And yes, if you visit Berlin for a weekend, you might have a great time, but living in Germany? That is a completely different beast. Germany is obsessed with bureaucracy. Paperwork is a religion here, and unfortunately, that bureaucracy has a bias. Let's talk about the nightmare of finding a place to live. The German housing market is brutal for everyone, but for black people, it is practically a closed door. The European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights released a report titled Being Black in the EU. The numbers for Germany were shocking. Over 50% of people of African descent reported discrimination when looking for housing. Half. Think about that. You show up for an apartment viewing. You have the money, you have the job, you have the credit score, but the landlord takes one look at you and suddenly the apartment is already taken. Or worse, you send an email with a name like Kwame or Keisha and you get no reply. You change the name to Thomas or Julia and suddenly you get an invite. This isn't speculation. Journalists have tested this over and over again. The results are always the same. And it's not just housing. Let's talk about the vibe on the street. We mentioned the stare in Switzerland. Well, in Germany, it is just as intense, maybe even more aggressive. There is a sense of policing in German culture. People love to correct strangers. If you cross the street on a red light, someone will yell at you. If you park slightly wrong, someone will scold you. But when you are black, that correction feels different. It feels like you are constantly being reminded that you don't belong. You are always the suspect. You are always the outsider. And we have to talk about the political climate in 2026. We have seen the rise of the far right across Europe, but in Germany, it hits differently because of the history. The AfD party has gained massive ground. Their rhetoric is openly anti-immigrant. They talk about re-migration, which is just a fancy word for kicking people out. This rhetoric trickles down to the streets. It emboldens the guy at the bar to make a racist joke. It emboldens the woman on the bus to tell you to go back where you came from. I want to be clear. Germany is not 1940. There are millions of good people there. There are anti-racist movements, but the system itself is cold. It is rigid, and it was not built with you in mind. One expat described Germany like this. It is a coconut. Hard exterior, hard interior. You can live there for 20 years. You can learn the language perfectly. You can pay your taxes on time. But to them, you will never be German. You will always be a migrant background person. And that permanent label wears you down. It is exhausting to constantly prove that you are one of the good ones. Germany offers efficiency. It offers stability, but it demands a piece of your soul in return. And for many black expats, the price is just too high. Number 3, Australia. Number 3 is Australia, the land down under. Sun, surf, and endless beaches. Australians have a reputation for being laid back. No worries, mate, fair go. It sounds friendly, it sounds welcoming, but let me tell you something about Australia. The racism there isn't hidden in the shadows. It is standing right in front of you, holding a beer and laughing in your face. In America, racism is often a heavy, angry thing. It's political, it's polarized. In Australia, racism is often treated as banter. It's casual, and that makes it incredibly hard to fight. Imagine you're at a barbecue. Someone makes a joke about your skin color. Everyone laughs. If you get angry, you are the problem. They will say, "Oh, come on, don't be so sensitive. I was just taking the piss. Can't you take a joke?" This is gaslighting on a national scale. They use humor to normalize disrespect. I call it the casual razor. It's a dull knife. It doesn't kill you instantly like a gunshot, but it cuts you. Over and over again, until you are bleeding out and everyone around you is telling you that you are not actually hurt. But let's look past the jokes. Let's look at the media. If you want to know how a country treats black people, look at how they treat their own black population. Look at the indigenous Australians, the First Nations people. They have lived there for 65,000 years. And yet, they are the most incarcerated people on Earth. They face health outcomes that rival third world countries. The way Australia treats its indigenous people is a preview of how they view blackness in general. And then there are the African gangs. A few years ago, the media in Melbourne decided to create a panic. They took a few crimes committed by teenagers who happened to be Sudanese, and they spun it into a national crisis. African gangs are terrorizing our streets. Politicians jumped on it. News anchors screamed about it. The statistics didn't back it up. Crime was actually dropping, but facts didn't matter. The narrative was set. Black men are dangerous. Suddenly, every South Sudanese kid walking to the library became a gang member in the eyes of the public. Suddenly, people were crossing the street to avoid black teenagers. This is the power of media demonization, and it affects you even if you are an expat from America or the UK. Because when they see you, they don't see your passport, they see your skin, and they see the gang narrative they were fed on the 6 o'clock news. Let's talk about jobs. A study from the Australian National University sent out thousands of fake resumes. They found that to get the same number of interviews as an applicant with an Anglo-Saxon name, an applicant with a non-European name had to submit 68% more applications. 68%! That is the black tax in action. You have to work almost twice as hard just to get your foot in the door. So yes, Australia is beautiful. The lifestyle is incredible, the wages are high, but don't let the sunshine fool you. There is a dark undercurrent here, a stubborn refusal to admit that the fair go isn't fair for everyone. If you move to Australia, you need thick skin, not for the sun, but for the constant smiling disrespect that they will tell you is just a joke. Number 2, United Kingdom. Number 2 is the United Kingdom. This one hurts differently. For many people, especially from the Caribbean or Africa, the UK is the motherland. It is the center of the Commonwealth. London is arguably the most multicultural city on earth. You walk down the street in Brixton or Peckham and you see black faces everywhere. You see black culture. You hear the slang. It feels familiar. It feels safe. And that is exactly why it is a trap. The UK is the master of polite racism. In America, racism is loud. In the UK, racism is whispered. It is deniable. It is sophisticated. They won't call you a slur to your face. They are too polite for that. Instead, they will, unfortunately, not have the budget to promote you. They will regretfully decline your rental application. They will randomly stop and search you on the street. Let's talk about the police. The Metropolitan Police in London has been under investigation for years. The Baroness Casey review came out and said it plainly. The Met Police is institutionally racist. Black people are stopped and searched at rates that are mathematically impossible to justify without bias. You can be a lawyer in a suit, you can be driving a nice car, and you will still get pulled over because you fit a description, and the description is just black. But the most terrifying part of the UK isn't the police, it's the healthcare system. We need to talk about maternal mortality. This is a matter of life and death. Data consistently shows that black women in the UK are up to 4 times more likely to die in pregnancy and childbirth than white women. 4 times! This is in a country with universal healthcare. The NHS is supposed to be free and equal for everyone. So why are black women dying? Because their pain is ignored. Because when they say something is wrong, the doctors don't listen. They are seen as stronger or aggressive or dramatic. This is systemic bias in its purest, deadliest form. And then there is the Windrush scandal. If you want to know how the UK treats black loyalty, look at Windrush. These were people invited to the UK to rebuild the country after World War II. They lived there for 50 years. They paid taxes. They raised families. And then, suddenly, the government decided to destroy the records of their arrival. They started deporting grandmothers. They denied cancer treatment to old men who had lived in London their whole lives. They told them, "Prove you are British," after destroying the proof. It was a betrayal of the highest order, and it sends a clear message to every black person in the UK. Your status here is conditional. You are tolerated, not accepted. You are useful until you are not. The UK loves black culture. They love the music, they love the athletes, they love the slang, but they do not love black people. They want the rhythm without the blues. And living there means constantly navigating a society that pats you on the back with one hand while it picks your pocket with the other. It is a psychological minefield. And the worst part is, because they are so polite about it, they will make you think you are crazy for noticing it. Numero 1, Canada. And here we are, number 1, the country that prides itself on being the good guy. The country that built its entire identity on not being America, Canada. If you are black in America, Canada has always been the escape plan. The Underground Railroad led to Canada. Justin Trudeau welcomes refugees at the airport. They have universal healthcare. They have gun control. It seems like the promised land. And that is exactly why it is the most dangerous trap on this list. Because the betrayal you don't see coming is the one that hurts the most. Let's strip away the PR and look at the facts. In recent years, the Canadian government itself has has officially acknowledged that systemic racism exists within its own institutions. They had to admit it because the data was undeniable. Let's look at policing. In Toronto, black people are 20 times more likely to be involved in a fatal shooting by police than white people. 20 times. That is not a margin of error, that is a hunting license. In Montreal, black and indigenous people are stopped by police at rates that would make an American cop blush. But Canada has a unique weapon that America doesn't use as much. It's called the Canadian experience. This is how they keep black immigrants poor. You move to Canada with a PhD. You have 10 years of experience as an engineer in Nigeria or an architect in Jamaica. You apply for a job and they tell you, sorry, you don't have Canadian experience. Your degree is worthless. Your history is deleted. They expect you to drive a taxi or work security to earn your way back to where you started. It is a polite way of saying, we don't trust your black competence. It is a systemic barrier designed to keep you in the underclass. And the cost of living? Canada is facing a housing crisis that makes New York look affordable. And when housing is scarce, discrimination skyrockets. Landlords can pick and choose. And guess who gets picked last? But let's talk about the emotional toll. I want to share the betrayal climax. This is what breaks people in Canada. It's the smile. In America, if a racist hates you, he might wave a Confederate flag. You know where you stand. You can protect yourself. In Canada, the person discriminating against you is smiling. They are using inclusive language. They have a Black Lives Matter sign on their lawn, but they are the ones calling the police because you looked suspicious in the park. They are the ones voting against affordable housing in their neighborhood. They are the ones filtering your resume into the trash. It is passive-aggressive warfare, and it makes you question your own sanity. You start to think, are they racist? Or are they just nice people who made a mistake? Am I being paranoid? No, you are not paranoid. You are being gaslighted by an entire nation. I have spoken to so many black expats who left the US for Canada, and after 2 years, many of them say the same thing. At least in America, I knew the enemy. At least in America, I could fight back. In Canada, you are fighting a fog. You can't punch fog. It just surrounds you, chills you, and slowly suffocates you. Canada sells a dream of multicultural harmony, but for many black people, the reality is a cold, hard ceiling. A place where you were invited to the party, but told to stand in the corner and be grateful you were let in at all. That is the paradise trap. And that is why Canada is #1. Because there is nothing more dangerous than a wolf that has convinced you it is a sheep. So where does this leave us? Does this mean you should never leave your house? Does this mean you should cancel your passport and stay put? Absolutely not. Travel is power. Movement is freedom. Black people belong in every corner of this earth, from the Swiss Alps to the beaches of Sydney. We have a right to be there, but you have to move smart. This video wasn't made to scare you into submission. It was made to arm you with the truth. The world is not a Disney movie. Progressive does not always mean safe. Polite does not always mean kind, and rich does not always mean welcoming. If you go to these countries, go with your eyes wide open. Pack your winter coat, but also pack your armor. Build your community. Find the other black expats who know the ropes. Trust your gut. If a place feels off, it is off. Don't let anyone gaslight you out of your own intuition. And remember, no country is a paradise. Paradise is not a place you find on a map. It is a sanctuary you build for yourself, with people who truly see you and value you. Now I want to hear from you. Have you lived in any of these countries? Did I get it right? Or did you have a completely different experience? The comment section is not just for algorithms. It is a resource for our community. Share your story, warn your people, or tell us where you found your peace. Because your story might save someone else from walking into a trap. Stay safe out there. Keep traveling. But never ever let your guard down. I'll see you in the next one.